and there's a new album coming out, Challenge of the Wind, which I'll be honest with you, I think it's one of the better albums you've put out. And I have Alex here to talk about it, to talk about the new album and tell everybody about it.
Thank you for having me. Well, thank you for the introduction, and it's very nice to talk with you again. Yeah, a lot of work, a lot of water under the bridge, a lot of work, and a lot of dedication, a lot of passion.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's that challenge the winds. It's an album with only fast songs and the purest heavy metal sides of Rhapsody of Fire. There's no ballad, there's no intro, straight to
Mm-hmm.
the point, still orchestral and powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So we are pretty excited that finally, after 3 years, we are going to release a new album.
My favorite song off the album. In fact, the song that, when I was listening to the album that really grabbed me and I kept repeating it over and over again, because I'm sure as you have listened to music, you run across records where you're like, man, I like that song a lot. Creel's Magic Staff, probably one of my favorite Rhapsody songs ever. Definitely. I just want to let you know that's probably my favorite song off the record.
Cool. Well, there is an element which is very funny. We meet a lot of people, of course, a lot of fans, and every time somebody comes to me and say, "This is my favorite song," it's never the same.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good compliment in a way, and seeing that different people they get in love with a specific song. It's not necessarily always the same one. So this is cool.
Definitely some good stuff. So let's talk about this album, Challenge to Win. Is it a concept album? And maybe go into the concept behind this record.
Well, this is as you know, we started this new saga, and as a small introduction, I like to say that at the beginning I was very open, and we met with Robbie and say, look, I'm happy to do anything if you have a suggestion for a story, because I know he's into reading, into thinking, and he's like me. We want to deliver a message, but at the very beginning, I was not really sure about. And talking about this with a friend of mine, a movie director, Neil Johnson, and he did a lot of video clip for us, and he said, wait a moment, I have a little thing for you. Listen to that." And he sent me a narration that he recorded personally with Christopher Lee, where he was narrating about Nephilim. And when I heard that, I said, okay, I'm convinced now. That's the sign that we use this little narration. Let's go on with, let's create this new saga. And I left the job to Robbie to write down the story, and we involved Giacomo into that, so he could write all the lyrics of the albums, and that's relevant because we want the singer to write the lyrics and being capable of singing them live fluently, So
yeah,
basically the introduction I made, and basically we like to deliver a positive message. And of course, there is a hero in the story, and there are evil counterparts, And in a simplistic way, it's always this balancing, always this, this fight of good against evil. But there's a bit more to reflect if some listener wants to get involved into that,
Sure.
You just listen to music, enjoy the overall scenario of music, but if you like, you can also get into the lyrics and maybe get some positive message. That is what we hope.
Right. What, when you come up with these concepts and you come up with the stories for, a lot of these records that you've done since the beginning, basically, what inspires these stories? Like, what is it, what out there really inspires you to write? And I'm talking about the lyrical perspective of things and the storylines in the albums. What inspires a lot of that?
Well, generally speaking, and I'm referring to the past, but also to the present,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about books, stories, and most of the times it's like influences we got from when we were kids. Musically, I was inspired by movies since I was a little kid. I was just
Hmm.
blown away about all fantasy movies and stuff. I never wrote any lyrics, so I cannot talk for Torelli right now. But what he wrote, it was really triggered by movies like Conan the Barbarian. Later on, like from Lord of the Rings. There's always like something you can,
Yeah,
you know, relate to and try to do something uh, on with the same vibe, with the same intricacy, but still has to be easy to understand. Has to be fantasy, and there must be some specific characters in the story to make it interesting.
sure.
Basically, it's like movies and books, I would say,
Hmm.
and. What's important for us that we come from a fantastic, beautiful town in Italy is between the sea and the mountains, is like the connection with the nature. It was always a big part of that. We don't really know why, but nature really were always a big part of what we. In fact, still today, when I have to compose, I always imagine being mountains and landscapes and
Yeah,
natural elements, fire, wind. It's always elements that brings a lot of visuals.
sure. I remember in the early days, on the first, some of the early albums, and as you progressed, there was this, you guys refer to yourself sometimes as Hollywood metal. And it made a lot of sense because I always felt like like somebody wrote a story and you were like writing the soundtrack to it. Like that's how it always felt like you approached it, at least from the fan perspective of listening to the stuff over the years.
Yeah, there was a journalist that once said, and he was referring, I think, to Triumph for Agony or Symphony of Vincent and Lance Part 2, where we
Mhm.
really used real orchestra and Christopher Lee and everything. And the description was fantastic. He said, "This is a movie for your ears."
Yeah.
And so this is, I mean, it's so simple to explain what everything we do is about. So when we compose music, I imagine natures and movies and scenes, visuals in general. So this come across to the listener, and so this is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I've always thought of it. It felt like I was watching a fantasy movie and you guys, basically composed the soundtrack to it. And
Of
that's
course,
kind of how it went.
the use of the narration and different actors
Yeah.
and dialogues. This was like really like movie scenes. So
Yeah.
that was one of the elements that were really important for us to do,
Yeah.
and maybe not so commercial, but we really wanted to do that. And yeah, the description Hollywood came more from it didn't came from us really. It was a description we got. In fact, we would prefer to call film score metal. As like just more serious, because Hollywood, it can mean, it doesn't mean really the epic side of the movie productions. It could
Yeah.
be it could be any movie. So the film score metal, it was a description that we liked the most and still use today.